So are you a reader? I love to read. It's my favorite thing to do. It's something I can do no matter what. If I'm in a sad mood or a happy mood or an energetic mood or a tired mood, I can always read. And I do read pretty much every single day. So anyway, I get books from friends. I get them from the library. I get them from Amazon. So I will list all these books for you down below, so don't worry. But I'm going to tell you about 7 of my favorite, most recent books that I've read. Now this first one, okay, is called the Hotel Nantucket. And it is by Ellen Hilderbrand. I talked about it in some of my videos recently that I did, which I'll link down below, on going to Nantucket. And this is just a great story. And if you, this Ellen Hilderbrand she's originally, I think, from Minnesota, and she now lives on the island of Nantucket, which is off of Boston, and has for 28 years, I think. And she's, quite the, notorious, or maybe, I don't think that's maybe the right word. It depends on who you talk to when I was visiting. But I think she's wonderful because she's written so many books. And this was one of the first books I read from her, and I did it just to get some color before I went on my recent vacation. And it's a great story, so I think you'd enjoy it. It's a story about a woman who becomes an innkeeper and tries to get a hotel to be highly renowned. And then she actually writes a guide in it that was actually real. It's in the back of the book. It tells you some cool places to see in it. So what a wonderful book. You can't go wrong. Of course, there's a love story in it. I mean, come on. All right, so that's the first one. Okay, second one. This one I'm just about finished with. Oh my goodness. What a crazy name for a book. It's by Jenny Holiday. It's called Manic, Pixie, Dream, Earl. Okay, and so it's kind of crazy. So it's a historical fiction, and it's set, oh gosh, probably in the late 1800s, I think. And it's a story of an earl. And it's just a little background, earls and contessas and dukes and duchesses and things like that. And that's just sort of part of the story. But also talks about the challenges involved with being of the gentry. And then there's, in the story, there's a writer. Oh no, she's actually maybe a publisher. And she publishes the magazine, so she is not from that same class. And she meets this earl through some writing projects and all the rest. And it kind of talks about the challenges that the earl feels and being kind of trapped into being he's not quite the earl yet, he's earl heir. And it talks a lot about how that impacts his relationships or ability to have relationships. And I think all that's really accurate. But it's a wonderful love story, a nice story of friendships between the earl and his friends. And it was just a really book that I enjoyed. And I literally have like 10 pages left that I'm going to finish tonight. Because I just was trying to savor it, which I don't usually do. I just usually race through it. So that's kind of a cool thing. Oh, and I guess a manic pixie dream girl is a term about just kind of it's a recent term. She actually talks about it in here. She says that it came from a movie. A manic pixie dream girl is a stock character in fiction, usually depicted as a young woman with eccentric personality quirks who serves as the romantic interest for a male protagonist. The term was coined by the film critic Nathan Rabin after observing Kirsten Dunst's character in Elizabethtown in 2005. The term has since entered the general vernacular. Who knew? So that's what it came from. That's for the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and this is just a play on that with the Manic Pixie Dream Earl. Well, it's the girl versus the Earl. It's cute. Check it out. Okay, so that'll be listed. Don't worry. Down below, just pay attention. Okay, all right. Do you know about this author? I had not read her before. Mary Kay Andrews, another New York Times best-selling author, and this is a book called Hello Summer. I love to read summer books at summertime, Christmas books at Christmas time, blah, blah, blah. And this is a lovely story about this woman. Her name is Conley Hawkins, and she's, she kind of accidentally has to get back into her family's, their family business is like a kind of a dying newspaper, and tells that story and why she ends up getting in there because of some, job that recently got lost. And it just tells some interesting secrets. There's actually even a murder in here, I think. And it's a very interesting story, though, kind of small town living. I think it's maybe set, and it's called the Silver Bay Beacon. And I think this author is originally, I think she lives, where does it say she lives? I think somewhere along the East Coast, Atlanta, Georgia. But this is really sort of a small town story, but it's really cool. The characters really make you keep on, you're wondering, wait, how did that happen? Who did what? And there's politics and all the rest of it, and family politics, and of course, romance. So it's a great story. I really enjoyed it. I would call it a beach read for sure. So Mary Kay Andrews, she's good. I think she's actually one of my other books that I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes. Okay, number 4. I think it's 4 out of 7. This is one of my favorite authors. This is Allie Hazelwood. Allie Hazelwood is this, wrote this book called Loathe to Love You, and it is a fun book. This is actually, I don't usually like short stories, but I like this one because there's 3 stories, so it's kind of like little novellas. The whole book is about, 400 pages? Let me take a look here. 350. So each story is, a little less than that, obviously around 150 pages or so, 125. And it's a really great story about each girl is a STEM person. So STEM is that, women that are in science, technology, I think mathematics, what's the E stand for? I forget. But anyway, so in order to get women, to be interested in that, because of course, I was a physician, and so I'm always interested in stories that are based like this. And so this is just a really nice, because each one's a story. One's set, in the NASA program. One is, an environmental engineer, and one's a civil engineer. And it just tells you stories, and of course, our love interest stories, but also politics of, these women and how they're, how challenged they are, being like the only woman in their particular jobs. And I think that's neat. I need to see how challenged they are and how successful they are. So this Allie Hazelwood has done a number of books like that. So she reminds me of the author of the Lessons in Chemistry book. I don't think she is her. Yeah, so she's not, but she's just read some. I've written some other books by her. Read some, The Love Hypothesis and Love on the Brain. So good book. So it's nice. Sometimes it's fun. I didn't think I'd like the fact that they were little novellas, but some nights you're tired, and this way you can read through the whole story in one night. That's nice. Okay. All right. Number 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay. This was really interesting. This one is called What If I Never Get Over You? Okay. By, what's her name? Paige Toon, Toon. Okay. This is a really powerful book. It was a story, this author, has written quite a bit of books, but this is a story of a woman named Ellie, and she is this woman who's very tender, and she's a garden. She's actually has a background initially kind of not in gardening, but then subsequently she ends up, because of various circumstances, working as a gardener in a very fancy garden. But before that, she goes on a trip, where she's kind of going through Europe, like kids do when they go backpacking through Europe. And she did that for a short time and met a man named Ash. And then they end up having a connection over the years that's a little convoluted. But it's interesting. Again, there's a little bit of that. He's a title guy. I think he's from England. And I think he's a viscount. But it tells, which sounds like would be a drag of a combination, but it's a very touching story and very tender, because this woman is struggling to maintain a love with this guy. And again, these gentry people with all these titles, they have, challenges when they bring a woman into their life, especially if she's got a career, because it's not such a great deal for them, because they may be may not be able to do their career, and they have to become more of a political figure. And it talks about that, and then there's just the way the love story kind of goes up and down, and the tenderness and the misunderstandings. I liked it a lot. So What If I Never Get Over You? A good story. So I would recommend it. Everything I'm telling you, I would recommend. Okay, so next one is, one more, Mary Kay Andrews. Well, this was so fun. This is called The Homewreckers by Mary Kay Andrews. This one is, they say it's got love, murder, and faulty wiring. This is a great story, very fun to read. The name of the character is Hattie Kavanaugh, and she works for her father-in-law's kind of reconstruction company, and they mostly remodel homes. And then of course it gets into the reality TV story because of various reasons. And then there's, some involvement of the various characters from the team. And it's of course there's a love story, my favorite. But also there's ended up being a murder in here. You're thinking, how could that happen? But it is, they weave it into the story very well. And it's touching. It's kind of a little bit scary, but because I'm not a murder reader, but it all works out in the end. And it's just a very it's kind of the reality TV-ish, but then more depth to the story, because the main character is really not. She's a very grounded kind of person. So that's number 6, and we have the last one. Oh, this was cute. This one's called Never Rescue a Rogue. Okay. And see, sometimes I buy a book based on its cover, when I see it in the store. And it's by Virginia Heath. And it says, Okay, it says, the title is, If You Want to Remain an Independent Woman, Never Rescue a Rogue. You're thinking, wow. And so that's kind of a recurring theme. And this is a story about these two characters, Diana Merriwell and Giles Sinclair. And it says they only tolerate one another for the sake of their nearest and dearest. But actually, of course, eventually they're gonna fall in love. But it just tells a story about, how when this Giles becomes, he becomes officially titled. Then there's a story of, blackmail, which happens a lot in these kind of stories, and family past, all that. And it's filled with a lot of great conversation. Their banter is really, compelling. It actually makes you laugh. So but yeah, you enjoy the story. Very hard to put down. So I do love historical fiction because it gives me a little, flavor. A la Bridgerton or whatever. It reminds me of, previous days, previous times. But also, I love again that I like seeing the challenges between the the modern day or the actually I think about I'm as a modern day woman. How does that how would that be juxtaposed with these women that were kind of finding their way and then with the men that end up liking these kind of independent women. So it's a great story again. I would consider all of them beach reads. And I don't know which one I would recommend the most because I read them all and I enjoyed them all. So you decide, you pick one or two for your next trip. You don't have to go on a trip, you could just stay home and read them. So I read, all the time, much to my husband's chagrin. And so anyway, have a great time reading these. If any of them interest you, if you have any questions, just DM me at Dr. Julie Marshall. I do have a blog called Dr. Julie's Fun Life, if I didn't say that. Thanks a lot for watching. Subscribe if you like hearing about books. Basically, I'm a retired dermatologist, and I like to, tell you about things I do that are fun for me, and hopefully they're fun for you. So a lot of them are about F's, so family, food. I talk about fashion, family activities like 4th of July stuff, food, recipes that I make, pretty tablescapes. I just made one for the 4th of July. I guess I'll list it down below. And it's just, they're all fun. And then also do some travel in there. And of course, I like to read. Occasionally I sneak in a little dermatology. That was what I did for 35 years. So I'm happy to answer a question if someone has a derm question. But overall, I'm really interested in just talking about, things I like to do that are fun for now in this stage of my life. As a 68-year-old retired, grandma of 4 grandsons and 1 granddaughter. So I'm grandma and I'm Gigi. So anyway, happy day, happy 4th of July, and please get a book and read it. You'll have fun.